Hello and welcome to Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. By and for school administrators, this podcast is intended to promote candid discussion and insight about our great profession. My name is Rick Sola, and as Communications Director for the Kansas Principals Association, I am the host, but I am certainly not the feature. Sit back, take a sip, and enjoy. This is Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Let's get started. Hello and welcome to another edition of Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Today I am with Dr. Jenny Woolever of Frontier Trail Middle School in USD 233, home of the Jaguars. Hello, Jenny.
Hi, good morning.
How are you this morning?
I'm good. Excited. We're counting down. We're about 4 days out for Thanksgiving break, so we have a lot of excitement here with the staff and students.
It's perfect, and that's a lot of the reason why I wanted to bring you on. But before that, right before we went live here, I guess we're not live recording, but talking about where I was just a couple minutes late getting on, and we were talking about why that is and how I don't know that we were late as often as we were until we had kids.
Yeah, so true. I have a middle schooler and an elementary, so it's like two different schedules, and one's getting involved into events, and so balancing that in your, your profession, it's a lot sometimes. So you appreciate that, and I think you have a better understanding when staff go through the similar situations that you are as a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, getting the kids to and from, and we're at 3 different levels this year for the next couple of years. Wow. So there's 3 bell schedules to maneuver, but It's all good for another show. But I wanted to kind of follow up. A few weeks ago, you submitted a principal perspective called Building Morale Through the Holidays, and first of all, really enjoyed it. And I know others that we both know but had listened to it and just thought it was really great. And I thought that would be a really good topic, and especially for this right now. This episode will come out on the 21st, right before the Thanksgiving break, but then the 3 weeks or so before the holidays. And so I'd love to talk to you a little bit more about your philosophy with that. And if you haven't heard the principal perspective on that Jenny did, it's about a 5-minute deal, and there's a lot of quick sound bites, but I wanted to get a little deeper into it. But you spoke about your intentionality with this time of year, because one, there's a lot of energy that can be tapped into, but two, when you go from like October to Thanksgiving, that's kind of a typical lull, and it could be a grind, and staff need to pick me up. So let's start with what's going on right now at your building or coming up, because you know where we're at as far as the calendar goes.
Well, I was going to say, we're excited. Wednesday is our faculty feast. And so what that means is that as the building, we kind of purchase the turkey and I believe ham. And so staff bring in different kind of sides. And so we kind of invade the culinary space, which they know. And so they go to an alternate location. But it's really nice. And so we have kind of a long table we spread out. And it's just a staff, it's a warm meal during that day. And so staff have their regular lunch shifts, but it's really nice because we keep it warm in the ovens. And I couldn't do it without my office staff. I would say my office staff does a really good job of creating the Sign Up Genius and kind of incorporating that. And a tradition that when I started with Frontier Trail, they also have what they call a pie day, which is really cool too as well. Parents donate pies. And so right before on Friday, staff select their pies and they get to take one home to share with their family, which I think is a pretty neat tradition. We have an assortment all laid out, but our families are really supportive, and sometimes they just want to know how to help. And so that was been one that's been kind of long-standing, and staff really enjoy it every year too. So I would say those are 2 events this week that kind of get us through to the week. It's something that staff kind of look forward to.
That's awesome. A pie day. What a great idea. So is that more of your parent directed, or is it kind of initiated from you and then parents take over, or is it such a long-standing tradition now it runs itself?
Yes, you're exactly right. I would say anytime I kind of begin with a building, one of the questions I usually give surveys out to staff. I find I like the survey a little bit better than the face to face because it allows them to kind of reflect on questions and it allows me to get to know the building prior to kind of becoming that lead administrator. And so one of the questions, which is probably my favorite, is what's your favorite traditions at your school? And sometimes I'm shocked they don't list any traditions, which gives us kind of an open canvas. And some of them are really passionate about whether it's we like to pick what'll be the first snow day. We had a raffle, or you never know what's more meaningful to the staff. And so I really try to keep those going or add to that. And so you'll be surprised just having a little social committee. Many times it's a few of my ladies in the office, as well as a couple of teachers that's what they love to do too. And so it kind of carries itself. Sometimes I just share my experiences from other schools about maybe, oh, here's something we could do. But it's neat because with Pinterest and Instagram and all the things, I usually have some other staff that have great ideas too. So we try to keep traditions, but we also try to build our own and to kind of as they go through. I would say Halloween was one not really tapped much here at Frontier Trail. So when I came, we began Red Ribbon Week. And so that's when we tied in kind of the costumes. And then we did the food contest in the lounge that is kind of spooky treats. And that has graduated over the last 3 years. So it's neat to see how big it's gotten now. So some of those do become traditions. And sometimes it's just a one-off, but it's nice because staff look forward to it.
I love that question you ask them, what's your favorite traditions? I've been in this building, this is my 5th year, and I feel like that's a question I would like to ask, even though I've been here. What's your favorite traditions? What is it we're doing that, or our parents are doing, or whatever that's really resonating? But then also, like, what's a new tradition that maybe you saw at a previous building? Just to add some fun. So much of it too is what resonates with an individual, and not everything hits everybody. So kind of tapping into, is that a thought that you give as far as how do I reach everybody? Or maybe, costume day is going to really hit well with this group, and then there's a Mr. Sola over there who's like, I don't want to wear a costume,
Well, I have a Mr. Todd. He doesn't like to do that either, but he does a lot of others. So you're exactly right, and I think our staff does a nice job of, it's okay if you don't want to participate, but you also need to mix different activities in. You're exactly right. I would say, sometimes food is driven by people, and sometimes it's just a simple spirit day. Ones that sometimes people that are less hesitant. Around the Super Bowl, we did odds like they do of the game, like will it be heads or tails? We've done NCAA brackets. So sometimes I have, just varying staff so I know their interests, so we try to combine different activities to help meet that. Because you're exactly right, Rick, that you have varying, abilities, varying interests. But it's kind of interesting because if you find one activity that gets someone involved, they end up kind of joining those other activities too. So that's where I feel like I've really kind of brought in the staff is they may not like this one as much, but they know we do some others as we go through. A new one that actually was led by our science department. I think when you kind of create that climate where people feel like they can contribute ideas, our science team is actually doing a legacy night, which I think is really cool. Your building, in fact, had a recent one for years of, it's been established, right, Rick? Can you tell me how many years?
25 years.
Yeah. 25 years, yes. And so FT kind of had that before I came, but what they are wanting was they're trying to raise funds for an outdoor classroom. And so their idea was, we've had so many staff that are no longer here that have a desire, want to help. And so we worked with the American Legion, and we're doing a pitch night. And so they're going to be playing cards, they're coming in. But it was almost like another community outreach, but it was kind of neat because I didn't even do that. I was just asked, hey, can we get this going? So our SRO officer as well as our science department is leading that. So it's kind of changed since then. Even though we have a good social committee, if you give that ability to staff to come up with ideas and stuff, it really builds that. And I enjoyed that.
Well, what a great culture, and like you said, it's almost like a snowball once you get it going, and then it sparks ideas, and that's perfect. Not that you wouldn't have wanted to have been involved, but I bet it's really nice that you had some champions in the building ready to move forward with it, and then at the end of the day, once they achieve that goal, that classroom, how great is that as far as the ownership and
Yeah.
the maintenance of it and that sort of thing. And it's ironic because we just did a Father's Club cleanup on our classroom
I saw
over the
that.
weekend, and that's going to be a different moving forward, maintaining that and getting it back to its good use. So no, that's awesome. You had mentioned in the perspective you did kind of there's things we can do. We could spend a lot of money, but then there's times that we need to do so on a budget, or we can't maintain a trajectory of oftentimes like a pre-service before the school year. There's a lot more meals and activities and things that you do invest in. What are some of those kind of budget-friendly items that you have found that have been really a big success?
Yeah. Well, our staff loves the snack cart. And so that's something that we have here in the office. And typically staff just pay 50 cents. We just kind of cut even on it. We buy supplies from Sam's and just kind of keep it stocked. But anytime you can just get a free item from the snack cart is a big deal. And so they can use coupons at any time. So it's kind of very much like our PBIS system that we do with students. They can earn tags and they can earn something. So if it's something within that's a little amount, but hey, it's a pick-me-up during the day, those are really nice. I also do prizes where they can select a menu. So we have 2 parking spots that are free, that one in the front of the building and one on the side of the building, and so they can earn those too as well. That's an item that doesn't cost us anything that we just had, maybe the sign that says staff appreciation, so they know that they can park there, and they can maybe earn that for the month. Just covering a class is really nice. Supervision duty is a big one. Sometimes I always thought it was the class, but man, if they don't have to get up in the morning or go outside when it's cold, they love those as well. And so those are just some of the free things that we kind of have incorporated within. And sometimes just making a fun certificate. I was surprised because our staff is so competitive. Just having a certificate that they hang behind their desk or on their door, that's enough for them sometimes too. So if you have that kind of environment, it's fun too or a traveling trophy, that sometimes just does the trick too.
That's really cool. You mentioned tags. How do staff earn tags? What do you do with that?
So they don't necessarily, it's similar role, but they don't necessarily earn it. We have little slips that they can nominate each other to as well, or I can earn it as a prize, but you're exactly right. And sometimes, like, pizzas are really cheap, so we will allow them they can purchase a pizza and they share it with their team. But again, that's kind of a team builder too. So it's just a list of menu items. So it's rather than you earn this, but they can pick what they want. Our local church that is one of our community partners, they also give us little $5 gift cards. So those are kind of the Sonic and Starbucks too. But again, those were brought in from the community, so it didn't cost us anything, but it's a way that maybe they want the $5 card or maybe they want the parking spot. It allows for a choice option. And so we have those laid out. So it could be that staff nominate other staff, or maybe we give it as a prize for one of our activities that we're doing. But having a menu each month is helpful because it allows us to kind of pick and choose, or what's been given, what hasn't been given.
As the year goes on, I think there's certain times of the year that we know that it just gets to be a grind, or it's just kind of that ebb and flow. But there's also just times, or there's sometimes we'll pick up like an undercurrent. What's going on, and how do you go about I guess discovering it? I mean, outside of your own gut instinct. How do you determine that? And then what are some of those things you may do kind of in the off times versus like, oh, man, we need a pick-me-up. We had a rough week. We had whatever go on.
Yeah.
How do you get to that point?
I'm lucky that my social committee, a lot of times they'll see things if I can't see it too as well, like, hey, we really need this. You're exactly right. Like, I think about assessment season. It's kind of an enduring one, and sometimes just placing little Easter eggs around. Like, you just try to come up with some different ideas. Sometimes it's as simple as writing little things in the restroom of just encouragement. Just kind of those little pick-me-ups. I know that they have little, like, sometimes song quotes and different things that we kind of add into that. Could be through announcements as well, and just checking in. Those many times just through conversation. Hey, how's it going? Yes, I agree. This is kind of like this. One that is kind of my favorite. I do a little stock the fridge, and I get pop, and so it's like they need a little pep in their step, and it's like different flavors of Dr. Pepper, or So really, we just try to read it and find little reasonable things and just plug it in randomly throughout. And I think those little pick me ups and surprises are really nice. Friday is sometimes tough getting subs in and teachers in. that we'll do a free cart Friday. So I kind of mentioned the snack cart. So they know, ooh, I get 2 free items from the cart. And so a free cart Friday, they love to. And again, that's just determined on, do we have a lot of subs in the building today? Hey, who are those staff that are there? Do they need this kind of pick me up? Kind of sprinkling those in is really helpful. But many times, like you said, I kind of use my group to let me know, hey, I think we could use something here. I do meet with my other admin team every Monday, and so they're also a good idea of, hey, assessment season's coming, what can we do here, what can we do there? But always doing things and activities for students, but I think it's also important that one of our conversations is what can we do for staff too, because again, we know how difficult our job is and their job, so anytime I can kind of sprinkle those in, I'm all about ideas. Again, I get a lot of input off Twitter, like Rick, I saw you guys doing the cleanup for your group. I think that's important as administrator because I don't have all the ideas, and if I see a cool one, that's something I would share with the team. What do you think would look like this at FT? And it may not be the time for it, but it could be something that we add later on. So I just really try to keep open-minded and let other people drive it as well as myself.
Yeah, I like that thank you for the shout out on that, but it's awesome. I mean, that's what's great about Twitter. Truly, these conversations that I'm able to have, and hopefully others are listening to, because there's just so many ideas. I've been just taking notes almost feverishly because I'm thinking, oh, we could do something like that, or what would that look like here? And there's just so many ideas out there, and I can probably take credit for like 2% of my original ideas, but at the end of the day, I don't know that it matters where the idea comes from if it's going to help your building, because if you're helping your staff, it's going to help your kids, and it's going to help your community. I'm a big believer in the whole community aspect of it, but kids go home and talk about school. They talk about their teachers, and they do that with their parents, and so it's really, talk about the snowball, but that's a good positive snowball effect of these little gestures that can manifest into really a positive, not just school culture, but community culture. So what are you doing right now to take care of yourself? And as you head into the holidays, but you're also heading into the holidays as a mom, but also as a principal of a building, and how do you take care of yourself?
Well, I love the holidays, and I think that's why I'll probably always be a building administrator, because I love my breaks. I love that time with family. I'm fortunate my family and my husband's family are all really local, and so we have an opportunity to spend time at each. We now have our children and their children, my siblings and things, and so really it's about family, I would say, as I kind of shut it off when I can. I like to still follow and see what staff are doing, and so that's something when I come back I can say, oh, I see you guys traveled, or I see you guys went, you went to your grandparents. And so those are things that I think is important to share. And then I think if staff get to know the things you do and the things that you find important too as well, it resonates with them. But I'm excited. So like we do movies, we do game nights, and all those kind of things built into the Thanksgiving break. I really love having the full week. Most of you know it's the time to clean your house, get those things caught up, as well. Get those decorations out, and kind of, it just allows for that break time. And so I really recommend is, unconnecting to school and just really focusing on your family, and resting, because I got to tell you, when you come back, those next 3 weeks are a lot too. So you got to take care of yourself. And I really do that through just spending time with my family.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned in the perspective was kind of tapping into the energy, and you're exactly right. When we come back from break, from Thanksgiving, it's 3 weeks, and it is a sprint. Just like you, we have concerts, we have games. There's a city basketball tournament. There's spirit. We do a 12 days of holiday leading up to the holidays, of spirit days and pep assemblies, and it's a lot. But you had mentioned tapping into that energy that's naturally there, funneling it in a positive way to get to December 20th or whatever it is.
Yeah, and I
So,
would say is our staff is really good about inviting other staff too. So it's not even that they're helping supervise the event, they're just attending to watch students. And sometimes that's nice because I think we forget that, oh, I need to supervise, and so we're constantly monitoring, watching maybe the halls or the event. But just coming to an event to be a spectator is really important. And I would say I've seen more and more of that, especially with our new staff. I really enjoy that because it gives you a different light that you're not so much worried about supervising everyone, but you're really able to watch and absorb that. And so that's something I would recommend to staff as they kind of go through is just asking them just to attend, just to be able to observe and watch, and maybe bring their family in. I know my children loved watching our musical, and so those are things that I bring them to it too as well, because I can make that a family event as well as what I'm doing too. So I would recommend that for others, that we do have a lot of events, so some that you can incorporate your own family in is important too.
yeah, no, that's really great, and there's a lot of the kids notice when you are there.
Yes.
Like as a teacher, you step into the gym for a basketball game, and they love that. They kind of light up, and then there's a lot of great conversation the next day at school. It's just
Yes.
building those connections, and I'm going to have you share here in a bit about your KPA. Membership and what leads you to it. But there was a quote, I was just going to share it since this is going to be right before Thanksgiving, but I put this in my staff newsletter, but it kind of goes to a lot of what you're talking about, especially this week of gratitude or leading up to Thanksgiving. But you cannot do a kindness too soon, because you never know how soon it will be too late. And that's Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I just came across that. I was Google searching some good gratitude quotes, and
It is very good.
put that out there. And especially this time of year, that's one thing that we try to encourage our kids to write a note of thanks to their teachers, and all the things that are mentioned. Sometimes that note is just like so meaningful. You see the notes on teachers' walls, whether it came from us or it came from a kid or a parent. So I wanted to incorporate that into this one, but as a KPA, and last year, Jenny, we didn't present together, but we traveled together to the KPA conference, and we both had our separate sessions. But what is it about the KPA that keeps bringing you back?
Yeah. What I enjoy about the KPA is it's so interesting to see what other admin are doing across the state of Kansas. Our buildings, our demographics can look very different, and it's so neat to hear and learn different perspectives, but also the similarities we still have and the same things that we go through. And so really why I've joined KPA and why I keep going is the relationships that I have formed with other colleagues. And it's really neat to get insight and seeing what we're doing across the state. I have to say is it really allowed me to build more relationships outside of my district or even Johnson County. So I have to say is that's really what I enjoy about it. And I'm a person that likes to continue to learn. So the stuff that KPA puts out, whether that's through the newsletter, your podcast, Rick, conferences. I went to the Women's Leadership Summit that they had in February and stuff. And I really enjoyed that. But like I said, it's the things that they produce and support us too is really why it's kind of continued and why I feel like connected to that.
Awesome. Gonna give you a chance to brag on Frontier Trail. I know there's a lot over there to talk about, but speak about your people.
Well, I have to say is the past 2 years, we've really taken a look at our data, and we've seen great growth in our ELA. So our focus has really been math, and really what we're seeing is about enriching students. And I'd have to say I'm really proud of our MTSS. We have an academic extension block, and really students, sometimes we're really focused on those ones doing interventions. It's been really neat to watch my staff then look on how we're enriching those students that aren't in interventions. And so still trying to grow that. It's something I've been really proud of, and taking time to really look at the data. What is it telling us? How can we help students? Really means a lot. And this past Friday was also another opportunity that we had. I've been really watching some of our buildings in the district that do community outreach. We were able to have a half day this past Friday. And when you mentioned about thanking one another, one of the stations was, writing notes for our first responders, police, fire department. We also had a station that helped make things for dogs and cats for shelters, and we just really reached out of what do others need, and we spent the afternoon dedicated to that. And I think education's more than just what our data is telling us to, is how can we create people that are showing empathy and how they can help one another. And FT did a lot of that prior to COVID, and it kind of drifted off once we got back. And so we're not at the scale of other buildings, but we were able to dedicate kind of an assembly schedule where I built kind of a rotation, and we did these activities within the building. And it was just really nice, and I heard such great feedback from staff and students participating. And I got to tell you, that was also a day we had 0 office referrals. So sometimes when you build those in, you realize everyone participating and it's meaningful to everyone, that behavior goes down quite a bit too. And when you get kind of to breaks, we all know as admin how that can be, but kind of plugging something like that in, again, it's being an administrator, being open to ideas. That was something that I know they've mentioned. We just didn't do it last year, and we knew we wanted to do something with community service. We just didn't know how to do it, and so this was the perfect opportunity when we kind of had an assembly, and they wanted each grade level to be in an assembly. And you all know trying to figure out a bell schedule with that is very difficult, and so we were able to work it out through BLT, but it was something that, even though there's a great idea, it took probably a year for us to establish that. And it was really nice because you're excited and nervous whenever you start something new, because you're talking 700 kids preparing for that. But it was well worth it. And I got to say, those are the things, even though you don't have to rush to something right away, just over time mold it, and it will be successful when you kind of have your support of your team.
I love that. You talked about the importance of data, and we know how important it is. That's how we measure a lot of things, but sometimes we can be data rich and maybe people poor, and we're not focusing enough on. There's people behind the data, and there's got to be a balance of that's going to drive a lot of our goals, our vision, but we've got to keep the people in the center of that, and doing that community outreach and providing an example to students that there's something bigger than just themselves or even the school, and that there's people out there that can benefit from them is such a powerful message. So a lot of awesome things going on at Frontier. I also see the things that are posted on Twitter, and of course we're colleagues, so we stay in touch, but so many great things going on over there. And I just want to say, one, thank you for coming on here today, but for sharing everything you did and all the things that you mentioned that are happening at Frontier Trail that you are impacting at Frontier Trail. I'm confident that you're making an impact on Chisholm Trail too, because I'm going to steal some of these ideas.
Nope. And I'm all about sharing. So you tell anyone that's listening to this, Rick, they got my email. I'd be happy to share anything, because that's what it's about. And it doesn't have to be exactly the way we do it. You just make it to your building. You're exactly right.
Yeah, and actually, I'm glad you said that. Just a reminder, check the show notes. Jenny's email and contact will be there, X handle, Twitter handle, and a quote that I read just a little bit ago. I'll put that in there as well. But Jenny, thank you so much. And I know there's a busy day ahead of us and a busy week, but it's going to be awesome. And thanks for sharing everything and making the state of Kansas and the principles within it a little better today by listening.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you, guys.
Check the notes section for more information on this episode and to learn more about the KPA and its mission to develop and support all principals through optimized learning, collaborative leadership, networking, and service. Be sure to check back in for our next episode and spread the word about Cool Coffee with Kansas Principals. Catch you next time.